Have you ever wondered what really happened to the infamous cities of Sodom and Gomorrah? The story of their destruction is one of the most dramatic and controversial tales in religious history. But what led to their downfall, and who was the prophet sent to warn them? Let's dive into the real story of Prophet Lot and the fate of these ancient cities. Our tale begins with Prophet Lot, the nephew of the revered prophet Abraham. Lot was chosen by God to bring guidance to the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, two cities that had become synonymous with depravity and wickedness. These weren't just any ordinary towns. They were notorious for their extreme immorality, rampant corruption, and hostile treatment of outsiders. Imagine a place where virtue was scorned and vice celebrated, where strangers were met with aggression instead of hospitality. For years, he tirelessly preached to the inhabitants, imploring them to abandon their sinful ways and return to the path of righteousness. But Lot's words fell on deaf ears. They saw no reason to change their lifestyle, continuing to engage in acts that were condemned by both the Quran and the Bible. What exactly were these sins that had incurred divine wrath? Robbery was commonplace, with the weak and vulnerable often falling prey to the strong. As the situation deteriorated, God decided to intervene. In a dramatic turn of events, angels were sent to earth, disguised as handsome young men. Their destination, the home of Prophet Lot. These celestial beings arrived bearing a warning of the impending doom that awaited unrepentant cities. But even in this crucial moment, the depravity of Sodom and Gomorrah knew no bounds. Their intentions were far from pure. They demanded that Lot hand over his guests, their evil desires evident in their aggressive demands. Here he was, a prophet of God, tasked with protecting divine messengers, facing a frenzied crowd intent on harming them. In his anguish, Lot pleaded with the mob, begging them to fear God and turn away from their wicked intentions. In a moment of desperation that showcases the gravity of the situation, he even offered an alternative, a proposition that demonstrated just how dire things had become. It was at this critical juncture that the true nature of Lot's guests was revealed. They turned to Lot and delivered the message they had been sent to convey. Divine punishment was imminent, and the time for warnings had passed. The instructions given to Lot were clear and urgent. He was to gather his family and leave the city before dawn broke. This command, simple yet profound, would prove to be a test of faith and obedience in the face of unimaginable destruction. Relief at their impending escape, perhaps, but also sorrow for the people they were leaving behind. As the first light of dawn began to break on the horizon, they set out, leaving behind the only home they had known. Behind them, the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah stood oblivious to their impending fate. As Lot and his family reached a safe distance, the divine punishment began to unfold. In a matter of moments, the once thriving cities were reduced to ash and rubble. The destruction was complete and irreversible, a testament to the consequences of persistent sin and rejection of divine guidance. The consequences of disobedience were swift and severe, serving as a powerful reminder of the importance of following divine commands without hesitation. It's a profound lesson about the consequences of moral decay, the patience of God, and the ultimate fate of those who persistently reject guidance. It serves as a warning to all societies about the dangers of allowing corruption and immorality to take root. Lot's years of preaching, in the face of ridicule and rejection, showcased the perseverance required of those who stand for truth, in a world that often prefers comfort over righteousness. Today, we read diving deep into the real story of Prophet Lot, and the fate that befell these ancient cities. Picture this: a righteous man, chosen by God, desperately trying to lead his people away from sin and destruction. That man was Lot, a prophet revered in Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. But his mission wasn't easy, and the consequences of his people's actions would be catastrophic. As the story goes, Lot's wife sympathized with the sinful inhabitants of Sodom and Gomorrah. Her disobedience cost her dearly. She was left behind, forever separated from her family and the safety they sought. The moment Lot and the believers escaped, an unimaginable calamity struck. But that wasn't all. A rain of baked clay stones pelted the land, leaving nothing but devastation in its wake. The Bible paints an equally terrifying picture: fire and brimstone, a term that has become synonymous with divine wrath, rained down from the heavens. This wasn't just a localized disaster, it was a complete and utter annihilation. When we look at the scale of this destruction, it's clear why it's considered one of the most severe divine punishments ever recorded in Scripture. The complete obliteration of two entire cities serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of defying divine will. It speaks to the dangers of unchecked arrogance, the corrosive effects of widespread immorality, and the peril of turning a deaf ear to God's messengers. In today's world, where moral boundaries are constantly being pushed and redefined, this ancient tale still resonates. It challenges us to consider the long-term consequences of our societal choices and the importance of heeding warnings, whether they come from spiritual leaders, scientists, or our own conscience. Interestingly, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah isn't just confined to religious texts. Archaeological theories have attempted to link this biblical event to real-world phenomena. Some researchers suggest that the destruction could have been caused by a massive asteroid impact near the Dead Sea region. These scientific theories don't necessarily contradict the religious narrative. The idea that a celestial object could have been the instrument of God's judgment adds an intriguing layer to the story, bridging the gap between faith and scientific inquiry. Today, the area around the Dead Sea is believed by many to be the final resting place of Sodom and Gomorrah. The barren, salt-encrusted landscape certainly fits the description of a place that has undergone catastrophic change. Visitors to the region often report an eerie sense of walking through a land that has witnessed profound devastation. While the exact location of these cities remains a subject of debate among archaeologists and biblical scholars, the impact of their story continues to reverberate through time. The tale of Sodom and Gomorrah has become a powerful metaphor for divine retribution and the consequences of moral decay. At the center of this narrative stands Lot, a figure remembered across three major world religions as a righteous prophet who stood firm in his faith despite overwhelming opposition. His story is one of moral courage in the face of societal pressure, a theme that remains deeply relevant in our modern world. Lot's decision to stand against the prevailing culture of his time, even when it meant becoming an outcast, serves as a powerful example of integrity. It reminds us that sometimes doing the right thing means going against the crowd, even when the personal cost is high. The story of Lot and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah underscores several timeless themes. First and foremost is the concept of divine justice. The tale suggests that while God may be patient and merciful, there are limits to that patience. It implies that societies that persistently engage in behavior deemed sinful or unjust may eventually face severe consequences. Another key theme is the danger of moral decay. The cities of Sodom and Gomorrah are often portrayed as places where wickedness had become so widespread that it threatened the very fabric of society. This serves as a warning about the cumulative effect of individual choices on the moral health of a community. The story also highlights the consequences of ignoring truth, especially when it comes from a divine source. Lot's warnings to the people of Sodom and Gomorrah went unheeded, leading to their downfall. This aspect of the narrative emphasizes the importance of being open to guidance and correction, even when it challenges our preconceived notions or desires. Interestingly, the tale of Sodom and Gomorrah has taken on different meanings and interpretations over time. In some contexts, it's been used as a cautionary tale against specific behaviors deemed immoral. In others, it's seen as a broader warning against the dangers of excess, greed, and lack of compassion. The enduring power of this story lies in its ability to provoke reflection on our own lives and societies. It prompts us to ask uncomfortable questions. Are we, as individuals and communities, on the right path? Are we heeding the warnings of those who speak out against injustice and moral decay? What might be the long-term consequences of our current choices and behaviors? As we conclude our exploration of the real story of Prophet Lot and the fate of Sodom and Gomorrah, it's clear that this ancient tale continues to hold relevance in our modern world, whether viewed through the lens of faith, history, or archaeology. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah remains a compelling narrative about the human condition. In a world that often seems to be teetering on the brink of various crises, environmental, social, and moral, the lessons of Sodom and Gomorrah offer a sobering perspective. They remind us of the importance of heeding warnings, standing up for what's right, and considering the long-term impact of our actions. As we face the challenges of our time, perhaps we can draw inspiration from the example of Lot, a man who chose to stand for what he believed was right, even when it meant standing alone. In doing so, we might just help steer our own societies away from the brink of destruction and towards a more just and compassionate future.